Hello and good evening. Thank you for tuning in to the Town Meeting TV Results Preview Show, live at 5:25. My name is Bobby Lucier, and I'm joined by my co-host, Selena Colburn. Thanks for being here, Selena.
Hi, my pleasure.
Awesome. So we are planning to poll from local analysts Kurt Wright and C.D. Madison to check in on the national race. It's a lot on the docket. There are a lot of big stories to follow up and down the ticket tonight. Selena, it's a big one. What are you looking out for tonight?
It's a big one. We're going to get into it all. I mean, of course, the national results have us all it's a nail biter, and it is going to have big impacts for us here in Vermont as it will for the rest of the country. So we're going to be watching that closely, and we're going to have good on-air commentary tonight from Kurt Wright and C.D. Madison telling us their perspective on that. We are also going to be looking at statewide races. We're not expecting a lot of surprises there, but will be really interesting to watch, especially the governors and lieutenant governor races, and see just what the results look like there, what the matchup between David Zuckerman and John Rogers looks like, which is a really different dynamic than we've seen in the past. And then, of course, we're going to be watching the balance of power in the Vermont legislature, learning if Democrats and with a handful of progressives can keep the supermajority that they've had this past biennium, and with a governor who is very free with the veto pen. That is a critical question about whether or not the state legislature will be able to reach its goals this coming year. So we'll be watching those races closely.
Exactly, a lot at stake in Montpelier. And of course, we have our federal elections as well. Bernie Sanders is on the ballot for a fourth term in the U.S. Senate. Bernie cast his ballot earlier today in the New North End, and our Exit Voices teams from Town Meeting TV were there to cover his vote and what Bernie had to say this morning. Let's hear from Bernie.
Good morning. Hey, how are you? Thank you. Why don't we move back a little bit? Yeah, that's good. How are you guys doing? Doing well. Good. Well, let me just say a few words. If you could push it back a little bit, is that all right? Okay. And today is the most consequential election, I think, in the modern history of this country, and the choices are very clear. If you believe that women have a constitutional right to control their own bodies, the choice is clear. If you think that climate change is real and not a hoax, and I think we in Vermont have dealt with the consequences of climate change, the choice is clear. If you think at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, when the very richest people are becoming richer, that we should not raise the minimum wage to a living wage, the choice is pretty clear. So I hope that here in Vermont we have a large voter turnout. I hope we show the way that we need Kamala in the White House, and that we defeat somebody who really is trying in many ways to undermine American democracy. Okay.
Senator, how confident are you about holding the Senate, and how will you advocate for Vermonters on the Health Committee if you lose your chair?
Well, I don't want to speculate. We don't know. I think it's absolutely true that Democrats are running. We got some seats that we have to defend, and we'll see what happens. But, I've been very proud of the record that I've established as chairman of the Health Education Labor Committee. We've stood up for workers' rights with significant success. We've lowered the cost of prescription drugs, and for the first time in the history of the United States, actually, Medicare is going to be negotiating prescription drug prices with a very greedy pharmaceutical industry. So we've made some progress there. I'm proud of the fact that we are expanding veterans programs around the state of Vermont. So, I'm proud of what we're doing, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, my hope is that the Democrats retain control of the Senate. It's an uphill fight, but it's possible. I hope the Democrats, in what will be a very close election, regain control over the House.
Senator, is this the last time we see your name on a ballot?
Let's not speculate, but got 6 years to worry about that one, huh?
How confident are you to get the next 6 years against
Well,
your opponent, Gerald Malloy?
Look, we have had events all over the state. We've worked really hard, and I just look forward to serving again if that is the wish of the people of Vermont.
How concerned are you with the possibility of Trump claiming election fraud or inciting
That's a
violence?
good question. Look, one of the reasons I would hope, and you're seeing this, I mean, there is a reason why people like Mike Pence, Trump's vice president, the guy who was at his side for 4 years, is not supporting Trump. There is a reason why John Kelly, his chief of staff, this is his right-hand guy, is not supporting him. Why Mitt Romney, who is a very conservative guy, was the 2012 Republican candidate for president of the United States, is not supporting Trump, and that's precisely the reason. We live in a democracy, and the essence of a democracy is these elections, okay? And sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. I have lost elections, No one likes to lose. When you get on the phone, you congratulate the winner. You don't say, as Trump is literally saying today, the only way I could lose an election if there's fraud. What does that mean? That means that he can't lose the election. He's going to win. So I would hope that even our conservative friends out there may disagree with me on every issue. But people like Liz Cheney, for example, who I have nothing in common with politically, understand that Trump does not believe in the foundations of American democracy. So, yes, I am deeply concerned about that, and we will see what happens.
And do you anticipate to see another January 6th?
I don't want to speculate. I certainly hope to God not. I was there, and that is not what this country needs. Okay? Thank you all very much.
That was Bernie Sanders earlier today, casting his vote in the north end of Burlington. Bernie running for a 4th term in the U.S. Senate. Bernie's been all across the country this campaign cycle, campaigning for Kamala Harris in the presidential race, and also looks to win another term as our senior senator now after Senator Leahy's retirement to represent Vermont down in Washington. We encourage you still have time to get out there and vote if you have not yet. The polls close at 7 p.m., at which point you can tune back into Town Meeting TV for our full coverage of the Chittenden County election results, as well as analysis of the results statewide and across the country. We are looking closely tonight at the balance of power in Montpelier as we have a number of races that could impact the Democrats and Progressives' veto-proof supermajority, which has come into play quite a bit in the last session, Selena.
That's right. We saw a hearty veto session, and with the numbers that Democrats and Progressives had in the House and Senate, and you can see a graphic here about the Vermont House of Representatives. Between Democrats and Progressives, there's 109. There's independents who frequently vote as part of that block as well. To sustain a veto, 100 votes are needed. So there's a pretty strong buffer here in the Vermont House, but we'll be looking at contested seats, including one here in Chittenden County. We'll be looking at seats across the state. Do you want to talk about any of those now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've also got the Senate, which
We've got
is
the Vermont Senate.
potentially in more jeopardy for the Democrats and Progressives with just 4 seats. The Republicans only need 4 seats to flip here in order to break that veto-proof supermajority and uphold the veto of the governor. And it does look like some Republicans are running some competitive races, both in Chittenden County and across the state.
That is very true. So we have 4 to 5 Senate races that we're going to be watching closely tonight that we think could affect the balance of power. One of them is in Grand Isle, Colchester, Grand Isle. So here kind of in our neck of the woods where we have Andy Julo. Parts of that part of the district for 20 years. And then you have Julo, who is from the islands, was appointed to fill the seat and served really just in the veto session. So technically an incumbent, but incumbent who's spent, one day in that role in the state house. So that is going to be a very, very interesting race, I think, the dynamics of that race to watch.
And what do we think is at stake here, Selena, for the legislature coming up in January? There seem to be a number of issues that are coming up in a number of campaigns across the state. What do we expect the legislature to be tasked with come January?
Well, I'm hearing from conversations that I've had that the legislature is going to be doing a lot of picking up where it left off on some of the big thorny issues. So education finance is going to be top of the list, I think, for both the House and the Senate. And Republicans certainly have tried to make education finance and the role of property taxes in that a key issue in their challenges to Democrats. We have some other Senate races that I think will be really interesting to think about through that particular lens. We know that Senate Pro Tem Phil Baruth has said he wants to continue to work on gun violence prevention. That's been a key issue of his since long before it was enjoyed the popularity among his colleagues and voters that it does today. So lots going on.
A number of issues for sure. We will be bringing you the results for the races in Chittenden County this evening on our 7 p.m. results show. Let's just review some of those races that we'll be taking a look at. The first House race that's top of mind in Shelburne is the Chittenden 6th District, where Kate Lally, the incumbent, faces a challenge from Deb Mayfield, a business owner in Shelburne.
Yeah, and I think, I would be surprised to see this go to a Republican, especially in a presidential year with the kind of turnout. Turnout seems to be high across the state. Shelburne is maybe a little more conservative than some other parts of Chittenden County, but I would be really surprised to see this go to the Republican Party.
Right. And then our lone contested race in Burlington. This is Chittenden 17, a chunk of the Old North End and New North End. This is a one-seat district. Missa Aloisi, the progressive, is challenging the technically incumbent Abby Duke, who was appointed by Governor Scott to fill this seat.
Yes, this is a really interesting one, too. So this seat was vacated by the now mayor of Burlington, Emma Mulvaney Stanek, when she won the mayor's race. She stepped down and Abby Duke was appointed. This is a district that's gone back and forth between Democrats and progressives in recent years. So when then Representative Mulvaney Stanek picked up the seat, she did so by challenging a Democratic incumbent. Democrats weren't so happy about that. When Abby Duke was appointed to the seat, it's sort of customary for the party who the individual is vacating the seat to put forward names, and then the governor makes an appointment based on those names. In this case, the governor sought Democratic names as well as progressive ones because the Emma had run in a Democratic primary, and Democrats were happy to oblige with that, and he appointed a Democratic candidate to the seat. And so, both parties have, I think, some claims to whether or not they feel like the seat is historically theirs in recent years, and just should be really interesting to watch how it plays out. Abby Duke did face off against Missa Aloisi in the primary. Missa ran in the Democratic primary, did not prevail there, but did secure the support of progressives and went on to run in the general election. So that'll be kind of a rematch, but with a much different electorate.
And moving on outside of Burlington, we have a couple of competitive races in Colchester, including this one where incumbent Sarita Austin is running, but we have an open seat here in Colchester District 19.
That's right. This is the district that Pat Brennan vacated to run for the Senate seat we were just discussing. And because he served so long in the Vermont House, 20 years, and there's a strong power of incumbency in Vermont. So the sort of political makeup of the district and how it may have evolved over time hasn't been fully tested. It will be interesting to see if this is going to remain a district that splits among Democrats and Republicans, or if the electorate has started to shift there.
It's true. We have a similar dynamic in some of the other races outside of Burlington. There's another district in Colchester, 2 seats. These are 2 seats that were held by Democrats. Seth Chase and Kurt Taylor, I believe, were the Democrats here. And it's anybody's game here. 2 technically Democratic seats, but have the potential to be flipped here in Colchester.
That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we've got some contested races in Essex as well. This one, 2 incumbent Democrats running to retain their seats. In Chittenden 23, this is Leonora Dodge and Ray Garofano, who are facing a challenge from Lynn Smith, the Republican in Essex. We also have a 1-seat district in Essex where Alyssa Black, a Democrat who serves on the Healthcare Committee, is being challenged by Republican Ron Lawrence. And I think we have one more, yes, in Westford and Milton, the Chittenden 25 district. Julia Andrews, the incumbent, is facing a challenge from Republican Brenda Steady. So these are all districts where we probably expect the Democrats to hold on to these seats, but not sure. It kind of depends on some of the coattails. There's coattails with Phil Scott. There's also coattails with Kamala Harris. How do you kind of add that math up there? Whose coattails are more important here this year?
Yeah, in Chittenden County, I think Kamala Harris's coattails are going to be more important. And I've heard, as I'm sure you have too, anecdotal reports of high turnout around the state and in Chittenden County. Also, Essex is, the districts in Essex have changed a lot. I mean, those not too long ago were districts that did elect Republicans, but they not only elect Democrats, they, the sole progressive serving in the state Senate actually was elected in Essex as a progressive Democrat. So the makeup of those Essex districts does seem solidly Democratic to me, but
that is a shift, and I'm excited to dig into more of that. We do have lots more to cover. We've got ballot questions. We've got races across the state that we're excited to talk about. We've got many of the issues that matter to you and your community that are shaping these races, and we will dig into all of it at 7 p.m. You can tune back in to Town Meeting TV's election results show. We recognize there are many broadcasts covering the election results tonight, and we are grateful that you've chosen to spend election night with us and focus on your local community and the local government that impacts your day-to-day life. Our coverage wouldn't be possible without our underwriting partners. We'd like to thank these folks for supporting this coverage tonight. And one more quick reminder that you can still vote if you haven't yet. Your vote can be cast until 7 p.m. when the polls close, at which point tune right back into Town Meeting TV for results and analysis from around the corner to across the country. Thanks so much.